Yo guys! It's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto what if tale. What if Naruto built a powerful harem with Anko, Kurenai, and Yugao Part 1? If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Stupid Ida-loving teams. Naruto thought for the 800th time the day had been like any other. Unfortunately, flashback, he had arrived in training ground 7 at their usual meeting time. As usual, after waiting for a few hours, their sensei finally arrived after they listened to his lame excuse for the They took a D-ranked mission house pulling weeds, a mission. Once they had finished, they did an hour of teamwork exercise. Well, Naruto tried to work with them. All he received was insults and punches to the head. All right, that's enough training for the day, spoke their so-called sensei, the Kashi sensei. When are we going to learn a jutsu or take a real mission? Asked Naruto. Sorry Naruto, but you're not ready for either, he spoke, never looking up from his book. You need to increase your chakra. How? He insisted. You haven't taught us how. You'll figure it out. Try asking Sas or Sakura, they have good chakra. Entral, he answered, or didn't. Before he shined away, he turned to look toward his team in hopes of help. Unfortunately, they were preoccupied. Sassen, would you like to go on a date? Asked Sakura. No, he answered before walking away to brood more. I'll go on that date with you, Sakura. Naruto tried his resp. Once was a punch in the head. Why would I go on a date with you? Naruto baka. Turning back, she ran out after the Wait, he called, stopping her. Do you think you could help me with my chakra control? Why should I help you? She asked. It wouldn't do a dope like you any good. You were a failure in the academy. And you'll be a failure as a ninja. With that, she walked off, leaving a hurt Naruto. Flashback end. As the memories continued to replay in his head, he came upon his destination. It was one of his favorite spots of safe haven. It was one of the few he had away from the hateful villagers. It had a waterfall that flowed into a river that reached his knees. He would often fish here when he couldn't afford a chaku ramen. There was an empty field with a bit of wildlife. The field also held an array of plants and berries he liked. His favorite part was the large and deep cave behind the waterfall. The water came inside, making a little pool. The rest was a dry place to rest. He would often hide or camp here when he needed or wanted to. It was partly because of this place he hadn't starved, why he had shelter when his home was wrecked by villagers. The home from home. He even had a small family here. Hey, I'm here, he called. As soon as the words left his mouth, he felt 4 light impacts to his chest. They didn't hurt, but it was enough to knock him over. As he tried to straighten himself out, he felt as they crawled around inside his jumpsuit. He quickly pulled them out and set them down. Not even a hello before. You go looking for treats? He asked, and mock her when they lowered their heads in shame. He smirked, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a few pieces of dried fish. Once they laid eyes on it, they do for it. He sighed happily as he watched them meet foxes. It wasn't I see that they were his closest family. Why, after the QB attack, foxes were illegal in Koha. Most people would just kill them out of spite. That made it hard for them to survive since the villagers hated them, not him. He happily did his best to help take care of them since they were alike hated for something they had no control over. The oldest female was the mother. Her name was Aki for her constant autumn coat. The oldest male was the father. His name was Jin for the patch of silver on his head. It was more pronounced thanks to his black fur. The youngest son looked after the father. His fur was black with a silver collar. That's how he got the name. Oro. The older sister was an enigma. She didn't take after either parent. Her fur was a constant snow white. He decided to call her Midori thanks to her grass green eyes. He then undressed as he laid himself into the stream, bracing his feet into rocks. He closed his eyes and relaxed. This way he didn't float of but stayed relaxed. He felt the foxes lay down beside him. Beloved, the flow of the water on his body, the feel of nature to his senses, the peace of seclusion. It was here that he could let his mask drop. It's right over here. Girls came. An unfamiliar female called that was heading toward him. Hat's just not fair, he growled. He quickly grabbed his clothes and started putting them on. Once Naruto was dressed, he moved deeper into the cave with the foxes. It was one of the problems with being here. The place was practically boxed off. Once inside, there was only exit. Unfortunately, one way was occupied. Ed by the whoever they were, he didn't want to have her run in with whoever they were. Something told him they were ninja. He was always good at telling who was a civilian or not. These were definitely not. He sat it and waited. See, I told you this entire place is great and you're sure this place is a way f. Wrong. Perverted eyes. Positive. I'll even have the triplets coup the area while we're here. Relax and Chan. If there are any perverts, we'll give them the beating of a lifetime. That doesn't stop them, and I think some are enjoying it. Okay, there are 4 women, most likely Kanoi. Then there are the triplets, maybe. Pets. He decided to move further into the cave. He really didn't want to be seen. Unfortunately, our blonde ninja forgot his bright attire. Hey, who's there? Show yourself. What wrong? Anko, stay calm. Maybe they didn't see me. I saw a hideously orange color. I think someone's in there. Darn it, come on out, Hannah. Think the triplets can drag them out. No need, he called. He took a deep breath and allowed his mastery form as he motioned for the foxes to hide. Then slowly and cautiously he made his way out. As he stepped out, he saw who caught him. Who are Yaki? Asked the one closest. The UT Yamaki. Future HOK spoke on in. Stinkt and you, or I'm the sexy and single Anyo Madrashi. The first spoke. Snake, mistress of Koha. I'm Yuga Yuzuki Kinjutsu, mistress of Koha. Came the second. I'm Kurenai. The now named Anko seemed to urge her for more gain. Jutsu, mistress of Koha. She continued with a sigh. I'm Hana in Yuzuka. Started to L. Asked the second. Hound princess of Koha. Buga was a woman with purple violet hair that came to her waist and chocolate brown eyes. She seemed to be wearing reddish purple lipstick. She was wearing standard ambu clothing. Something about her seems familiar. Garai had long black wavy shoulder length hair. She seemed to be wearing an outfit that looked to be made of bandages. Her hand and upper thighs were wrapped in the same material. Her eyes were what stood out the most to Naruto. They were an odd but truly beautiful shade of red. She seems familiar as well. Anko had light brown pupilless eyes. Her high R was black with a tint of violet, styled in a short white ponytail. She was wearing a tan trench coat and a mesh bodysuit under it. Over it was a dark orange mini skirt. Never seen her before. Anna had long brown and a ponytail with 2 locks hanging in front of her face. Her eyes were an average black. She had a light shade of pink-red lipstick and Inuzuka markings. She was wearing a beige medic uniform. Those markings mean that she's related to Kiba. Their headbands proved what he feared. They were all Kanoi. What are you doing here? Are you spying on us? Asked Yuga. He didn't answer. How about we play WI? Him offered Anko. We won't go all out, just teach him a lesson for what he's done. Anko Hune's just a Janine, stated Yuga. If he doesn't learn his lesson now, he could grow to be worse than Jera, stated Kurondai. None of them could deny that. Besides, he'll just heal. The truth was she didn't care about she just wanted the boy to suffer for what he did. Tell your friends to come out as well, ordered Hannah. But friends, I'm here alone. He lied. My companions here say they smell other, stated Hannah. Bring them put or they'll be dragged out. Nudo stood defiantly. Thus do it, Hannah called Anko. The Gaki is to be born to listen. With just a gesture, one of the triplets were making their way toward the cave entrance. Not wanting his friends hurt, Naruto stood in front of the approaching canine. He glared at the dog with such intensity that it actually started to whimper. After a few more seconds, he ran back behind Hannah and his siblings. Anko, seeing the distraction, decided to have a little fun. She threw kunai. Thanks to all of his years of living through the hate of Koha, Nudo gained an extra sense. It was one that warned him of danger. It was warning him now. Ducking his head, he avoided the kunai as he right. He felt slender but powerful arms wrap around his neck, holding his head still. Struggle as he might, he couldn't get free. Be him tight, Anko. He heard one of the women shout, the triplets will drag whoever is in there out. Wait, he begged. He didn't want his only friends to be hurt because of him. Don hurt them, asked Kurai. Go got them, boys, ordered Hannah. As the triplets closed in on the entrance, Anko decided to have a little more fun. Whoever is in there is in for a world of pain. Leaning toward his ear, she whispered, right, Foxy __. At hearing the name, his blood ran cold. They know about QB. That's why they're here. It was replaced by boiling rage. Using what little chakra controlled he had, he directed it to his arms with all the power he could muster. He pried Anko's arms open. He broke free, spinning in a full 180. He kicked Anko in the stomach. The blow didn't harm her, but it was enough to Ton her to say the Kanoi and dogs were shocked would be an understatement. Anko was a Jan, a special Jan perhaps, but a Jan all the same. To see a mere Jan and force his way free was truly amazing. Putting his hands in a cross form, he shouted his signature technique Shadow Clone Jutsu at the name 10 solid. Clones appeared. They took a protective stance in front of the cave. So the little Gaki wants to play, huh? Asked Anko. Well, let's play. Charging forward, Naruto threw two exploding tags toward the women as they scattered to avoid the explosion. The clones charged. This is getting out of hand, spoke Yuga as S. He dodged another kunai. We have to restrain him. They nodded in agreement. Hey, Runa called. You're not the only with moves. Weaving her clan's hand sign, she called man beast clone. At the name, the brothers jumped to her side and went up in smoke. When they were visible, it was revealed that they took her F. Orm. After weaving more signs, they all dropped to all four ninja art beast mimicry all fours jutsu. They charged forward before jumping into the air. Mult fang over fang. All four hanas began to spin, taking a blurry drill-like form. The attacks then began to rotate around each other as they charged forward. They tore through the clones. Nudo saw the direction of the attack. They were heading toward the caves. He knew what he had to do, thinking he would just jump out of the way. The hanas pressed the attack. To her surprise, he only put his arms up to defend himself and stood defiantly. They'll move, she though. UGHT, as did the rest. They'll move, they'll jump away, move already. They didn't. Yub Baka called, but he didn't, and it was too late to stop their attack. B hit Nudo full and they tore through his cloth and his body. He fell to his knees bleeding. Once the attack ended, the real Hana turned to ask why he took the attack, or at least she tried to. As soon as she turned, she saw a kunai fly past her, a kunai with a tag B. Hana barely had enough time to cover themselves in a coat of chakra. It was enough to save them from the explosion. The blast knocked them each far back in a different direction. They transformed back and were unconscious before they hit the dirt. Nudo would have continued if it weren't for Anko striking shadow snakes. Multiple snakes ejected themselves from Anko's sleeve. Turning, he was able to see the attack but not dodge. The snakes each coiled around his limb and various parts of his bow. Each snake then latched onto Naruto with their fangs. He felt the burning sensation as the venom spread through his body. The poisons in these snakes aren't lethal, but they do cause great pain, stated Anko cheerfully. To her continued amazement, Naruto had more surprises using his very will and chakra. He moved his hands together. She herself added chakra to strengthen her technique, but it wasn't enough, not when facing a host of a tailed beast. This Gaki has more chakra than even me. Shadow clone jutsu. Summoning 4 clones, he smirked. Kurenai gain jutsu, ordered Yugao. Kurenai began weaving. They each drew a kunai and cut through the snakes, freeing the original. They gave a cry as they rushed forward. Anko drew another to kunai and took aim, not know which was the real one. Anko threw them toward non-lethal spots. They both hit their mark. The first hit a clone, dispelling it. The second hit Nut in his upper leg. It embedded itself deep. Drawn blood. The pain was only intensified from the venom. Ando cried, Kurai, you stopped my gain jutsu before it set in. Oops, sorry about that. En-chan apologized to sheepish snake mistress. He continued forward, not even losing speed, with only a limp and slight fl. Inch to show he was hurt. The remaining 2 of them proceeded to henge into demon windmill. Ian's looking at his opponents. He took aim, need to get rid of the biggest threat, but a spin to build up momentum. He threw it with all his might. It flew past the snake mistress and the kinjutsu mistress. He was Ming for Kurai. She had to admit she was impressed. Naruto was holding his own. He even managed to take out Hana and the triplets. Turning her head, she let the giant weapon fly past her. She never noticed it graze her cheek, but it's not enough. The shadow windmill henge flew right past her, lodged itself into a tree. It dispelled itself a second after contact. Kurenai asked a hesitant Yuga, are you okay? In her confusion, she felt a warm moisture drip down her cheek. Bring her hand out. She felt the spot and pulled her hand back. There was a light stinging sensation. She looked at her hand. Blood at henge. It was real, she stated in shock. A real illusion that should be completely impossible. Even some of the greatest game jutsu users in the world can't make a real illusion. Naruto prepared the second shuriken. As he prepared to throw it, something clamped down and stopped his arm painfully. It caused him to Drop and dispel his clone. Looking at what stopped him, he saw that one of the triplets had latched its fangs around his arm. He felt a second latch onto his one of legs. The final blow came from Hana herself. She tackled Naruto from behind, pinning him under her legs. She held a kunai to his throat, forcing him to be still. I've had enough of this, she snarled. We'll find out who you're hiding. As soon as the words left her mouth, the final brother stepped forward out of the cave. What Naruto saw in the dog's mouth horrified him. It made his blood go cold in his very veins. It was the foxes the dog was dragging their bodies out by their tails. No, he pleaded, this can't be happening, not them. Noki Jin Oro Midori. When they didn't respond, his fear was taken in its place. He was given hatred. It was raw and uncontrolled hatred. It was so much that he even started to pull on chakra from the QB. This isn't good, the Kurenai thought as one. They didn't know what to do as they watched the red chakra become visible. All they wanted to do was punish a pervert. Now things were truly out of hand. He knocked Hana and the two triplets off just by simply standing. There were burn marks on them as well from Q's corrosive chakra. He dashed toward the family of foxes. When the remaining triplet saw the approaching Naruto, it dropped the foxes and fled. As he knelt down to them, he calmed himself down. The QB's chakra began to disappear. He was angry, but he wasn't blind. He saw what had happened to Hana and her dogs. Come on, guys, get up, he pleaded. He wanted his family to be okay. Come on, you guys are all I have. They didn't move. They all just laid there unmoving and lifeless. He reached for them but pulled back when his blood fell on them. He didn't want to let QB's influence touch them. He turned his attentions back to his attackers. EY flinched at the level of hate in his glare. He felt both his rage and QB's chakra return with a vengeance. It was more potent. You could even see a fox head grin at them. Damn it, he's drawing on the fox and Hana is out. No choice, everyone. We need to end this. No more holding back, spoke Kurenai. I need a distraction. Come on, Naruto shouted. I'll take you all on. Then County went first, jumping high into one of the trees. She yelled, multiple striking shadow snakes. As the name said, multiple snakes flew toward him, much more than the first time. However, they weren't aimed for him, they were aimed for the foxes. The Y rushed back to their side to take the blow as the snakes hid that on. It seemed that the masses of them consumed Naruto and the foxes, but a mighty roar he sent out, a shock wave of chakra. It tore through the mass of snakes, leaving only shreds behind. He stood under their falling parts, not losing an ounce of hate, not even uttering a commander. Forming signs, a clone popped into existence. As soon as it formed, it became another windmill shuriken. Giving a mighty heave, he threw it toward Kurenai. She made to dodge it but didn't count on its angle. To her surprise, it turned as she did, cleaving her in half. Rai cried Yuga in disbelief before schooling herself. You so control yourself, Yuga cried Hana. They could use some help now. Running forward, the Kinjutsu mistress attempted performed her name's sake. As she came in range, she raised the weapon high in the air. She intended to knock him unconscious with her sheath. As she came into striking distance, Naruto made his move, stretch his arm out. He grabbed her arm, adding pressure to her wrist. He forced her to lower her sword, but she didn't drop it. But it was enough. Grabbing the sheath, he yed it free. Holding the blade sheath, he took a stance. He then started hacking away at her, or would have. Thanks to years of practice, she was ready. She was able to dodge or block every single strike. His stance and form are great, she thought. For an amateur, he must have a great teacher. If only she knew. Unfortunately, it was because of that experience that she did what did out of pure instinct. She dropped back and lashed at him. She cut him across the eye, causing a short grunt, probably ruining it permanently, but it didn't stop him. He was too angry to feel any pain, not that he would have anyway. He stopped. Suddenly something was holding him in place. Looking at his restraints, he saw vines. He struggled against them. He even hit them with the sheath, but they just carried him off the ground. Now he had no leverage. String bean bind illusion. Looking toward the one who named the attack, he saw a giant bean pod as it opened. Kurenai stepped out. This is a game, Juts. You from the Kurama clan, you won't be getting out that easily. What are you doing? Asked an aged but powerful voice. Release him. They turned to the source of the voice. Standing before them was the Hokage, and he was angry. Kurenai stepped forward. Hok saw Wei. She was cut off. That was an order, he stated. Shish. He did as she was told. As soon as he was free, he charged Kurenai with a powerful jab. He struck her in the stomach with a sheath. He continued charging painfully, pushing Kurenai along the dirt. Humming to a sudden stop, he drew the sheath back. Kurenai dropped to her knees, gasping in pain. Raising the sheath, he Brought it down across her face. She was out cold as she hit the ground. He prepared another strike when he felt the familiar sensation of fangs biting into him. We're done here, GY stated Anko, dropping the sheath. He grabbed two of the snake with a might heave. He pulled Anko free from the tree, but he didn't stop there. He kept pulling, and with a spin he aimed her. She crashed face first into the downed Hana. Turning, he looked toward Yuga, and then there was one. He stated coldly, that won't be necessary, Naruto, __. Turning to the voice, he saw a rush of red and white five-prong seal. He felt an intense pain in his stomach where he had been struck. As the chakra faded, so did his consciousness. After removing the seal from Naruto, they stood outside of the hospital room. Inside was Naruto resting after the ordeal. The doctors had checked him over. They say he'll be up in the morning. He doesn't need this. He had allowed his surrogate grandchild a secret. Horizon was always aware of Naruto's comfort spot. It had kept him sustained, so he saw no reason he couldn't have it. It was out of the way, so Naruto had all the peace he could want or need. Until now, it was a good thing he made regular checkups on him. Of a the irresponsible and stupid heed. The four Kurenai stared at their village leader. They felt an immeasurable amount of shame from their action. Do any of you have anything to say? He asked. They each flinched at his cold tone. They were used to their kind and soft-spoken leader warm tone, not this cold tone that could cut even steel. I have never felt this disappointed in you three, he stated. You two especially. He pointed to Anko and Yuga. What do you? Asked Hana, but was stopped by his glare. Yuga, you used to protect him as his personal Anuk guard when he was a child, the only one that would. He whispered the last part. Why? It was true. All of the other Ambu would sit back and let the civilian and ninja beat on Naruto. On many occasions they would often join in. She was the only one that would save him both on and off duty. I am sorry, Hokage-sama, was all she could say. He will turn in your mask. You are on suspended, he stated. You will return to regular duty as a John. I understand, she stated. You know his pain. It was all he said, causing her to reach for her neck. It was all he needed to say. Anya wasn't very well liked in the village thanks to her sensei. She was used by him, blamed for all of his crimes. She even had a burden that she never wanted. Now here was one of the few people that accepted her. Now utterly ashamed of her, she couldn't feel lower. Hokage SWI, they would start but never finished. They were too ashamed. Ando, I was going pushed to let become a full Jan, but for now you will remain a special J, he stated. Hana, you will be put on leave from the vet, and your mother informed Kerr and you and your Gen and team will be receiving the most humiliating deer and missions for half pay. How long? Hok-sama asked Hana. The Hok here is in Kobe's side. He leaned back as disappointment replaced the anger. The year became visible on the powerful leader. Until Naruto forgives all four of you, he answered. Not a moment sooner. Understood, Hokage-sama, they stated in unison. He in my office first thing in the morning. With nothing left to say, he left via Shunin. They all walked home to wait for him to regain consciousness. They needed to find a good way to apologize. They planned and worked the remainder of the day away. The next day Hin made his way toward the hospital only to find Nuts sleep. He waited but not long. When he awoke he only asked, am I in heaven or hell? Neither. You're alive here is an answered. How do I? Oh, you feel okay, but come with me. He grabbed Naruto Sunshine to his office. When Naruto looked around, he found himself surrounded by his attackers. They expected him to shout out attack or even panic. He did none of these. He only looked at them. Who ordered you to kill me? He asked so offhandedly it scared what? Asked Kurenai. Don't play dumb. Was it the shinobi or the civilian council? He snapped. Neither. Anko answered. Does it happen so often that he can be so casual? I would be out for blood, so you all just hate me as well? He simply stated. No, shouted Yugao. None of us have anything against you at all. Girls, they all agreed. Then why? He growled. Why attack me? Why kill my only piece? Why kill them? The foxes? Asked Hana. The Essie answered blankly. They aren't dead, she stated. When I found them they were healed to near full health. I healed them the rest of the way, she added proudly. Why? He asked in shock. Howie and Yuka don't hurt canine if we can avoid it. What she had her companions did to the foxes have shamed her so much. Her mother was so angry that she took the triplets from her until the hawk's punishment was over. She even made Hana go back to help the foxes. That's how she knew they were alive. He is telling the truth, Naruto stated their leader. It seems that when your blood fell onto them and has some healing properties, we will have to do some tests later. Please hear them out. Thank you. He stated they are very important to me. When Hana took a discreet look at the HOK, she asked with her eyes, "Did I do good?" The glare he gave was all the answer of a hell no. "We don't hate you, Nudo, not for your problem," stated Kurenai, hoping to avoid mentioning the QB. "That's why we're here, to apologize for what we did. Verbal has brought me a lot of hate. I'm used to it," he stated. "I do want to know why. Though we thought you were a pervert," stated Anko. "We have a history of being violent with perverts. It's true." Thought here is in some of those poor souls never made it home. However, the ones that did never peaked again, except Jura. Not even Tsunade could stop him. That's a relief, and I agree wholehearted. Why with your actions, stated Nudo cheerfully, shocking the Kunoi. "Hey old man, can I go now?" The Kunoi were shocked at the complete emotion change, even more so that he had forgiven them. "Are you saying you forgive us?" asked Yuga. "Yep, just like that. He forgave us just like that. He's so different from what the reports say," thought K and I before realization hit. He wearing a mask. She looked toward her friend Anko, just like Anko. "Wait, I have something for you." Reaching into this desk drawer, he pulled out a few sheets of paper. "This is the deed to 3 acres of land, so you are now the sole owner of that area." He held up a second sheet. "This is a copy just in case. Can you guess the center of those 3 acres? The happiness in Naruto was indescribable. He was being given the land that had been like a home to him, and more, so much more. There was only one way he could properly thank his leader. "Thank you, Hokage Sa." Ma spoke Naruto through a deep bow. The say that Saratoi was shocked was an understatement. Nudo, as in Naruto Yamaki, had been respectful. He quickly recomposed himself before sadly asking, "This isn't going to happen often, is it?" "No way, old man," shouted Naruto. "Just on special occasions. It was good to Dre." Amused the leader Buden. "Get him to give me proper respect one of these days." The aged leader swore. "Well, I'll see you later." Opening a window, the blonde boy jumped out. His shouts of happiness could still be heard from inside. The leader turned back toward the Kunoi. "Well," he asked, "get out there and apollo Jais," he ordered, but she was stopped by his glare. "Not good enough." His tone ran them right out of the window behind Nudo. "I meant through the door," he whispered to himself. Reaching into his desk, he pulled out his crystal ball. He would make sure that they properly did as he ordered. "If it happens to me out of doing paperwork, then it's that much better." Nudo couldn't be happier. Even the glares from the villagers couldn't bring him down. He finally had something that was his and couldn't be talked by the villagers. He saw his teammates come into view. Even their sensei was there. "I must be late." He dead to hide the deed to his sanctuary. "Better safe than sorry," he thought as he placed it in his pouch. "Allo, Kakashi sensei." "Sakuran team," he greeted. "AK, you're late," she screeched as she punched Nudo in the head. "And don't talk about Sasuke like that. That is starting to get annoying," he thought. "Why are you late?" "Dope asked the AA. "Because of you I couldn't get a mission. You also missed team practice," spoke their sensei, never looking from his book. "It's not good for shinobi to be late." Nudo, now that is the pot calling the kettle black. Answer do bordered the AA. "If you must know, team Baka punch. I was in the hospital." "Well, since you missed the mission and training, the day is over. Probably tripped and fell on your own." "Kunai," he spoke before walking off. Missing Nudo smirk. "I got into a fight with a few J and here it torted much to skzy. There is no way a dead lastly you could fight anyone." He snapped the Anid. Baka screeched. "The howler monkey only kun can fight a jing, so stop lying." Actually, a calm voice and tone. "He worked us over pretty good even if we were holding ourselves back." Was the A's reply. "Why are you for here?" asked Kakashi, putting his book away. He'd read in front of 1 or even 2 of but not all 4. "We want the boy," stated Kerr and I with a bit of an edge. After seeing the book, more training, spoke the AA, stepping forward. "Perfect, not you. We want Naruto, __," stated Hana. "Why are they calling him, __? Why would you want that?" Baka screeched. "Sakura's Khan is so much better in every way, but ease mine. Ah, shut her up before I go." Death begged Hana. Her enhanced hearing were driving her crazy. "Lead and go, Naruto, __," called Ua. "I demand to know what you want with that dough instead of me." An AA and elite ordered an arrogant. He froze when he felt a cold steel of Ani against his neck. You think you can give us demands? Asked Anko as she cut his cheek and licked his blood before it out. Oh, that is the foulest blood I've ever tasted. Hey, you get away from my Sakun, screeched Sakura, and his blood is not foul. It's amazing. I wonder what yours is like. She spoke, freezing Sakura. Let's find out, she said, taking a threatening step forward. What? She looked around to see her sensei wouldn't help and SK frozen, only the baka smirking inwardly. She put on her most pitiful face. You wouldn't let them hurt me, would you? Naro the only stared at her. Save me already, you baka. Tell these who SSIES to get lost. Please leave S and Sakura alone. Kakashi finally spoke. I need my best students in full health, he said, ignoring Nutke feelings. Pine S of Mokta pressed Anko, but I'll get her blood, she vowed to herself. Booga grabbed onto Naruto and the four Kunoi shunshined away. They arrived inside an empty training area. Wow, what was that? Can you teach me? He asked. The Kunoi stared at him. Even through his mask they could see he wanted to learn. A kid will always be a kid. Drop the mossy, ordered Anko. Anko, that's Yugao started. I'll drop mine if you drop yours, he stated, gaining a shocked glare from a NKO. Not many could see through hers, but her friends and those with a similar mask. Theok we as an Anko, you a Hana, and I feel awful about yesterday, Kerr, and I motion to each, so we want to make it up to you, each of us. If it's out of pity, then save it, he stated coldly. I don't need pity from anyone. It's not, Gaki stated Anko. We don't do anything out of pity. That earned her a smile, a real smile. We was cut off by a deep rumble sound. It seemed to echo from Nudo and cause him to shake. His thought was that your stomach, Anko asked in disbelief. Naruto had actually blushed from it. Well, I haven't eaten since yesterday, he answered sheepishly. How about buying me some food? He missed Anko's smirk. Here is a perfect chance for me to pay him off. I'll be a full J in no time. Well, Gaki, if you're hungry, let me introduce you to the greatest food ever made, she said with stars in her eyes. But I already know about Raymond, I'm talking about Dango. Her mouth watered. The food of the gods, Raymond, is the broth of truth and the noodles of hope. You poor misguided soul, she said with a shake of his head. Reaching into her trench coat, she pulled out a hissing snake. Allow me to convert you with pain. The three remained Kunoi watched in amusement as they went back and forth. They were a bit upset at the fact that Anko took the first chance of forgiveness, but the show mostly made up for it. They decided to stop things before they escalated to another brawl. Ando, put the snake away. Naruto, no clones order. Du, how about we eat the Raymond offered Kerr and I, receiving a betrayed glare from Anko. We eat Dango so often, we need a change. She then gained a mischievous smile. You did say you were paying the you, shouted Nudo, dragging the four Kunoi 18 bowls of Raymond. Later Anko was crying over her wallet. Hune sti. LL going, she mentally shouted. Where is he putting it all? It also didn't help that she was paying for her friends as well. Yep, another bold N hand. He froze when he saw the look in her eyes. The crazy snake lady is pain. Let me guess, you offered to pay for the whole meal, didn't you? Asked him the Raymond C. Ook's daughter. Yes, she answered, ignoring the snake lady name. N-chan, you aren't going to break this nice lady's wallet, are you? He froze at the accusation. Crap, I've been found out. As the sweat poured down, he remains silent. No, nothing like that at all. That's good to hear too, he spoke in his usual cheerful tone. It's good to see him with some friends, and such beautiful ones at that. He'd Naruto, I'd hate to ban him for being ungentlemanly. It's okay, Gaki here earned it, grinned Anko, leaning her impressive bust onto his head. Surely Naruto, brings team at list, asked Hana, noticing him tense. Naruto Kuna, when did my number one customer become a player too? He asked, ignoring the question. Not like that, they're just treating me as an apology for a misunderstanding, he answered. What happened? He asked, interested. We accused him without any evidence and were punished for it, Yuga answered, causing the Furken Oitua way ashamed. How would you ladies like to know a secret about Mar-chan's whiskers? Asked in a mischievous way. This gained the interest of all the Kunoi. No, N-chan, he begged, just give them a rub, spoke Tui before walking into the back, ignoring Nito's call of Traer. Wait, if you don't do it all, pay for my own meal, he pleaded. Not happening. Gy Hana head him down, Anko ordered sadistically. Wait, Anko, I think you should take him up on that, reasoned Hana. Just look at how much he ate. As she looked at the piles of Raymond bowls, her wallet started to feel very small. He had summoned eaten another 19b Owls, when did you, how did you? She looked him in the eyes. Why you shouldn't turn your back on me, he said. Remember, I'm the prankster from hell for a reason. Hein, then she growled. Pay for your own meal, look like'll be a special J. And for a little longer, after an extra 2 bowls, Nudo paid for himself a ND. The Kunoi Ganai turned. Since you are a genin and we've decided to take you shopping for proper clothes, a real shinobi would never be caught dead in that monstrosity. They heard him mumble something under his voice. Could you please be see, we can't hear you, Yugao requested. It's all the villagers, let me buy, he repeated. They either sell me out of date or ruin stuff for over double the price, usually both. And County lowered her head in understanding. She went through the same thing when her sensei left the village. No one wanted to do business for the snake, underscore underscore. His mask jumped back on. It's not all bad. I actually like orange. I know a place that will sell to you. It's where I persuaded Anko to go. It's a shinobi only store, so you can get clothes and weapons but not food or household items, spoke Kurai. Where is it? What's it called? Can you show me, he asked almost desperately. Come on, grabbing his arm. She's hunching them away. Bar appeared in front of the shop. It was a wide 1-story building with several wide windows. A symbol of a Chinese dragon coiling around a leaf sat on the center of the roof. There was one thing that really caught Naruto's attention. One of the windows were boarded and it looked as if had been boarded several times. This is the leaf dragon, stated Anko. You can get anything for a shinobi here or have it custom made, be it clothes and weapons to fighting styles and low mid-level jutsu. Walking inside, they were greeted by the owner standing behind a counter. He was a tall man with strong GL-looking hands and arms. He seemed to be going gray but gave off the power of a man in his prime. He watched each customer with a calculative eye. There was a long scar running down his cheek. A new customer, huh? He asked. Who are you and what can I get you? See, demon cough brat, one of the customer hinted. Not too subtly. Instantly Nudo turned to leave but was stopped by a hand on his shoulder. Surprisingly, it wasn't from either of the Kunoi. The hand was from the owner. Excuse me a second, sir, he spoke kindly. This is going to be good, giggled Anko. The owner calmly reached over the counter to the one that had broken the third's law. Grabbing him by the scruff of his neck, he hurled the man out the boarded window. Reaching under his counter, he easily pulled out a large twin-headed axe. Does anyone else want to insult my customer, he asked menacingly. I have plenty of windows. Silence. No one was crazy enough to say anything. A few people did leave quietly. They'll be back. They always come back. He ran one of the best shinobi stores in the village. Naruto, this is Dai. He did the same for me the first day, spoke Anko. Perfect shot. Doesn't look like it, spoke Han. You missed the center. Wasn't aiming for the center there. Was a rusty nail sticking out. He grinned. Like I said, gloated Anko. Perfect shot. Now what can I get you, he asked Naruto. Naruto was in a state of shock. Not only was this man allowing him to shop here, he had protected him. We want to get rid of this. She motioned to his jumpsuit and make him look like a proper shinobi but leave some orange. He seems to like it. All right, kitty, spoke Strip and Spry ordered in a serious but slightly dark and sadistic tone. What, cried Nudo, ready to jump out the newly opened window. Wait, Nudo shouted Yuga over Dai and Anko's laughter. I need to take proper measurements. He.S. Aide after coming down from his laughing fit. Your jumpsuit is too bulky. That's just how he pranks new customers, spoke Kurenai before sending him a glare, and speaks to his longtime customers. You think you would have learned after all of the people you've run off or the Kunoi who have attacked you, Astized Hana. This means war, spoke Naruto low and sinisterly. He was the king of all pranksters in Koha. He would not be a prank victim without retribution. No one pranks the prankster from hell and gets away with it. Now Dai paled. He had heard how Naruto pranked people for revenge. They would always be remembered for their high degree of humiliation. No one shakes a bee's nest without getting stung, he thought. Wait, I'm sure we can reach an agreement, Dai spoke, sweating heavily. I'm listening. I have an elite set of training weights in the back. He hurried. They only need chakra, so you won't have to take the off during battle, he explained. They're yours for half off. I need to eat too. Nunk mouth was watering at the prospect of those training weights. He could train at all times while doing the simplest of tasks. I'll get stronger in no time, believe it. He spoke with his best poker face as Naruto had his measurements taken. A thought occurred to him. It had been bugging him since they had picked him up from his team. They had given him an answer, but now he wanted the whole truth. Once the measurements were finished, two went to the back. He chose that moment to ask, why are you all doing this for me, he asked. I told you that I forgave each of you in the old man's office, so I want the real reason we told you. It's you're lying, he stated. I know when I'm being lied to. We felt sorry for you, Anko answered before mentally kicking herself. It was half true, but if he is anything like me, he'll not even getting a chance to finish her thought. He starts speaking. Pity you did this all out of pity. He was already walking put the door before he was pulled back. Naruto, I think you should know the whole truth, stated Yuga. They told him everything, how the third Hokage ordered an apology, how he demoted them until was filled everything. I see, he stated calmly. I'll tell him I forgive you and you can go back to your lives. You won't have to bother with me again. He whispered the last part sadly. No, stated Anko. What, he asked, confused. Isn't this what they want? I said no, she repeated. I am going to apologize properly. Tell me what you want. You don't need to, he stated. I said tell me, she hissed. Do you want money, Judas? Do you want someone dead? She thought. Do you want me to sleep with you? No, no, maybe. And no, he stated. I don't want you to do something out of. He was stopped by a hard slap across the face. AI who had returned th. That will leave a mark. He had no idea what was happening. He just knew it would be best to stay out of sight. You asked me to drop my mask, right? Well, here, she stated. Look at me. He did. He looked her in the eyes. He saw everything, her pain and regret. There was the fear that it would never end. It was all being held on a small line of hope. Your eyes are just like mine, he stated. Yeah, she admitted, just not as intense as yours, not far behind. Naruto, I ask you again, what do you want? He knew what he wanted. It's something he had been denied since the academy. Do you all feel this way? He asked, receiving a yes from them. Train me in your arts so that I can be powerful. That's why, she asked. We can get plenty of jutsu scrolls for you. No, I want you all to train me, not buy me off. Can you do that? He asked. Do this for me, and or even if not, I'll still tell the old man I forgive you. There aren't many ninjutsu or jutsu we can teach you, spoke you. I know, he said. I want to be trained by you in your all of your arts. The Kunoi looked at each other. There was someone who wanted to learn their skills from them. He was even offering them a way out if they decided not to. What about your sensei? Asked you out. He Mew Saint have taught you something? By sensei hasn't taught me anything. All he does is go on and on about teamwork and needing better chakra control, which he hasn't taught me. Then focuses on the AA. They frowned at the obvious favoritism. He hadn't even seemed to care that they were taking Naruto. They shared a smile. He had shown great potential in their scuffle. We've warned you that we couldn't teach you a lot of flashy jutsu, Hana warned. If we do this, you have to give us full commitment. The minute you start slacking, we stop. And or even B, he answered. But I have one request. Depends we keep this secret. Everyone on my team Lil. They gave Naruto an encouraging smile. It was quickly replaced by a look of true sadistic pleasure. Well then, Naruto, welcome to hell. That concludes today's training and puts another mission under your belts, spoke Kakashi. You've all improved, but Naruto, you need to, I know, increase my chakra control. Naruto cut off with a draw before smirking. I've got the feeling it'll be getting much better soon, aka screeched the pink harpy. Show sensei more respect. She rolled up her sleeve as if to look intimidating to her and everyone else's surprise. He just looked bored. Are we done, sensei? He asked, still bored. I need to go, the Aussie answered, never looking from his book. As Naruto turned to leave, he heard the arrogant voice of the AA. What does a do like you need to do? He too was cut off. Hang around those __ of yours. Shut it, team, he snapped, and don't call them __. They're better to any woman you'll ever get, if any. The way you turn down your fangirls, Naruto, you need to be more respectful of your teammates, spoke Kakashi into his book. The you should know your betters, and I can't stand this. Goodbye, cruel world, Naruto shouted. Let boss deal with them on his own. Grabbing a kunai impaled himself. He just couldn't deal with them any longer. He went up and smoked the shadow clone. They thought since when Naruto was excited, today was the day that things changed. It was the day that he started getting proper training with his new senses. He had gone to the HOK and told him that he had forgiven the Kunoi. After a few minutes of discussing everything, he agreed to Nar's terms. They had decided to train him in rotations so that they could keep up their duties. He would train with Anko and Yuga, then Hana and Kurenai. The only real downside was he had to wait for D to make his cloths, since they were custom made. They take a while to be done. Until then, it's just you and me. Jumpsuit. The second and most obvious was his team. They made my clone kill itself. An upside to that was that he had been training all day. He was wearing the weights that Dai had sold him. They were 100 petabytes on each limb and Chasing that cat was a great workout with them. I just couldn't stand that, always trying to be better. I'm for my real training, he stated to himself, and then I could get a few bowls of ramen. Now here he was at his training ground on his land toward. He loved how that sounded. He looked around and saw the open field, the only one there was the foxes who were playing with the foxes. Where are they? He though I know they aren't like Kakashi sensei. He closed his eyes and relaxed as a smile appeared on his face. So that's your game, huh? Hello, and Kon, he greeted over his shoulder where she stood silently. Wither the kunai and hand Yuga sensei into a tree where his second sensei dropped from. How do you always know where we are, Foxy? Asked Anko, impressed. And how come only Anko gets a chan? Asked Yuga. I've always known when people were near me since I was little, he answered honestly, and the chan as Ked and intrigued Yua. It doesn't seem fair. You didn't threaten to do horrible things to me with a snake if I called you San, he answered blankly. Well, now you call us all Chan or Sensei. Gaki Spokano. That way my friends aren't jealous. On a serious note, stated a lightly blushing Yua. She may have been a little jealous. You say you feel people. Yeah, it used to help me hide from the mobs when I was little. I've gotten a little better at it. Naruto, are you a censor? Asked Yuga. She didn't want him to even think of those mobs. The what? He asked. They didn't cover that in class? Asked Anko, shocked. Censor nin w. Air the best trackers, even better than her clan. Not that they'd admitted. That's something important. I thought they'd warn you about them. They probably did, he answered. It was probably one of those days they kicked me out of class. How much have they neglected this kid? Were their collective thoughts. They needed to do their best to make it up to him. Naruto, I want you to do me a favor, spoke Anko. I want you to focus and tell me where the foxes are. Looking around, he saw that they were indeed gone. Relaxing his body, he felt as far as he could. Raising his hand, he pointed in their direction. 10 meters T. Had way, he answered correctly. Now they are moving toward us. They'll be here in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just as he predicted, they came busting through the woods. The Kunoi gave a smile of understanding. Well, Gaki, you are a censor, Anko spoke. We'll try to train you in that as well. Truth be told, she didn't know what was going to train him in. Impress us and we'll teach you a jutsu. Naruto, please make as many clones as you can. He did so without question. Soon the field was full of hundreds of Narutos. That is a lot. I can make more if you want, he offered. He was proud of his clone skills. No, first thing we need to RK on is your chakra control, stated Yua. First thing we'll do is tree climbing. Focus your chakra to a certain point and maintain it as you take a step. I've come up with a way you can work on that, your reflexes, and entertain me, stated Anko sadistically. I don't like that entertained part, he stated fearfully. Where's this going, Anyo-chan, and why do you have that smile? Why do you have that kunai? Od, she shouted at the top of her lungs, throwing the kunai directly at him. She frowned. She threw it slow enough for him to dodge, but fast enough for him not to know she did. I have a reputation, however, all he did was let it hit him in the arm. If it had been the real one, he'd have a horrible gash. That's what she was talking, Naruto stated. Cur Ondai, clone or not, you just took a kunai to the arm. I have a high pain tolerance, he stated. Nudo, spoke a sad Yuga. We know about the villager, no need to hide anything not from us. The villager would often gang up and beat Nudo until he was physically broken, but never emotionally. His birthdays were the worst of them. Instead of beating, they would actually torture him. It had happened so frequently that only the birthdays were the ones that truly hurt. They street opt when he started his ninja training, but the damage was done. That is why we to kill two birds with one stone, spoke Yua. Using your clones you can work on chakra control. What do my clones have to do with this, he asked, and what will I be doing? The Kunoi frowned at this. What has Kakashi been teaching him? They knew he was neglecting Nutke training, but this was ridiculous. Their clones' knowledge will pass on to you, explained Yu. You can train faster in anything but not strength, speed, or reflex. It was how most Uo trained, that was with 2, 3, or 4 clones. Nudo had much more. If a clone is Dester Oyed, you won't be able to get stronger. Now dodge. This time the clones dodge. Good, now I can begin having fun. Dodge. She is enjoying this a bit too much for my taste, he thought. They decided to train in another part of the field. It was difficult for Nudo to focus with Anko trying to kill him, especially Since she liked to aim for what made him a man every single time, it was a sad day to be a clone. They will do that while we work on a few beginner kinjutsu katas. Spoke you a nudo focus. I'm going to teach you the first cod as to the style she ordered. Pick up that katana and hold it like so. She held AR. Edie stance but saw he was strained. Are you okay? She wanted him to get used to the type of weapon he'd be using and the dangers of self-harm from it. Unfortunately for Naruto, she wouldn't let him have a real one until he needed. And I take off these weights? He asked. As strain is getting to me. He has been wearing them all day. She contemplated. No, she said after a minute of thinking, it's best you keep them on to build more speed and force in your blows. She reasoned. She had been expecting him to protest or even groan. She was proud to see him only set himself for practice. What determination. Okay, sense. He answered. You can drop the weight a bit if it gets to be too much. She offered. If you master these series, I'll teach you a kinjutsu technique. But the promise of a jutsu, he was given new energy. She trained Nudo in a series of kotas. He even made a few clone to watch himself to see his errors. There was a lot, but Yuga proudly stated that most came from his exhaustion mixed with weights. As the sun began to set, Nudo ended his chakra control in Kutsu practice. Even though he hadn't mastered the series of Cod as he made progress, he did however master the tree walking. You did good, just need to dispel the clones. Anko spoke. Hey clones, she called. As they turned to the source of the voice, they blushed. They were greeted with the sight of Anko's bare chest. It took them a full 3 seconds to register it as they flew back in a massive nose bed before dispelling. Unfortunately, the strain of hundreds of clones dispelling at once was too much. It caused him to pass out on the spot. He did however have a goofy smile and trail of blood flowing down his nose. BKO, that was too much. Scolded Yugao. Are you trying to turn him into a pervert? Hey, with that much stamina I wouldn't mind, she answered truthfully. Ganon a blush from her fellow Kanoi. Well, let's get him home, stated Yuga. He'll love the surprise he'll find when he wakes up. Well, maybe my gift. Anko. But Naruto awoke. He found he was in his apartment. He had an extra hour until team meeting began, then an extra 2 before Kakashi arrived. As deciding to get out of bed, he found slight difficulty. I must have trained harder than I thought. As he grabbed for the ramen in his cabinet, he felt something off. Where is all of my ramen? He found a note in 2 scrolls. Did you stop eating ramen? It's why you're so short. Here's some dango sealed in the first scroll. Just add chakra. You had better eat and love it. Also, don't even try that ramen stand. I paid them off not to sell to you for the weak. You're in the second DPS. I doubled your weights. DPPS dodge. As soon as he read that last line, he tossed a scroll. No sooner than he did, a kunai flew out of it. It lodged itself into his wall ceiling. A kunai. I think she's trying to kill me. Wait, she doubled my weights. Breeing inside of the second scroll, he unraveled it. It was a jutsu and a small book. Sensor nin and its mechanics. We found you a book on sensors at D's shop. Shunin. High-speed movement allows ninja to move short distance at near instantaneous speed. Enjoy. Forgetting all about his hunger, he had headed toward his training ground. He wanted to impress his real sensei. Baka. Why are you late? Cried a harpy. And what's with that smile? He wouldn't let them ruin his day. He would do his best to get through the day as fast as possible. I'm not late, Sakura. I beat Kakashi sensei. He answered. Both were in shock. Not only had he said something logical, he hadn't called her Sakuran like normally would. Deciding not to get involved with them, he chose to sit away from them. I have an hour until he arrives. It's a good time to work on being a censor. After 20 minutes of reading, he closed his eyes and allowed himself to relax. He skipped through straight to the how-to. As he focused, everything seemed to become more vivid. Than with his eyes open, he could feel every from his teammates to the insect crawling near him. He tried to extend it. The further away he went, the less vivid it became. It seems my range isn't far, but it's focused. After messing around with his abilities, he decided to read more and eat some of the dango Anko packed for him. She'd make me suffer if it went to waste. As the smell of fresh dango spread across the field, he felt his hunger kick in. At the first bite, he thought not ramen, but a close second. He sat back in peace, enjoying the book and food. Hey Baka, give me one of those. How? A certain pink-haired monkey. And just like that, my piece is gone. No, he answered. He wasn't giving up anything given to him by one of his sensei, not to any of them what she asked. She had just been denied something by Naruto. It was hard to believe he's supposed to worship me. Yo, sorry I'm late, I got lost on the road. What are we learning to sensei? Asked Naruto. He wasn't going to listen to another excuse. I can't teach you Mew. Until you increase your chakra control. Turning to his other student, I have a new technique for you, Sakura. I want to watch Sasan train. She stated, if you don't train Sakura you'll be weak, stated Naruto. Who asked you? She screeched. I'll have SK to save me and then we'll get married. And he just too Ned her out. Can I be dismissed? He asked. Not even waiting for an answer, he walked off. He doubted any of them heard him. He wanted to get some real training done. Hohana sensei, he said from his book, you can stop hiding. Kurai sensei, I knew you were there the minute you came into the field. Vano and Yuga warn us about that, stated K and I, coming into view from her game jutsu. They never said it was so creepy, continued Hana as she walked into the field. If you want I can stop it, he offered. No need, Kerr and I stated. Now tell me what game jetsu you know, and he answered, and that's it, he finished. Sensei, can the person use gain jutsu without hand seal? Yes, but you still need a medium, like your eyes are sound and better control, and yours is K. And I looked for the kindest way to phrase it, but you teach me. He asked to spare her. At least she cares enough to spare my feelings. I can only do a few myself, but ma. YBE. Later they then began the lesson. As it turned out, Hana had decided to teach Naruto's clones how to make storage seals. Kerr and I did her best to teach Naruto some game jutsu. Naruto was in a bad mood. It had been 2 weeks and he couldn't learn his sensei's simplest gain jutsu. His kinjutsu was going he didn't blame her, far from it. Kerr and I had spent hours trying to teach him and find the reason why he was having trouble. She had even given him low-level scrolls to practice. He blamed himself and the reason he couldn't learn the fox, since one needed balanced chakra to do game jutsu. He couldn't learn his and the fox's chakra were always fighting. The only reason he could do henge was because control wasn't needed. His thoughts were focused on that so long he never noticed himself asleep. Mindscape. So my jailer finally decides to show up, stated a deep gruff voice. What do you want? I want ants. He shouted, shocking the giant fox. Why are you ruining my control? There was no fear in his question. There was plenty of anger in it, but no fear. That only enraged the fox. Rearing back, the fox let out a roar. It was enough to shake a village and knock people over. Naruto just stood and glared. Come close. The fox ordered. Seeing no reason to fear the fox, he did so without hesitation. That enraged the fox as well, but the speed of it demon. The fox stabbed the giant claws at Naruto. They never made it to him thanks to the bar stopping them just inches from his face. Naruto hadn't so much as flinched at them. Damn you, boy, came another roar. Fear me, I am the very stuff nightmares are made of. Why should I? The blonde asked. Just give me control of myself, and why should I enrage Cole? You've always preached about hard work, so go with that. Why must you ruin everything in my life? Has screamed. Well, know this foe. He spat. I don't fear you and I want control so I can continue my training. Ah yes, your training, he commented in a tone Naruto didn't like. How very fox-like of you. What do you mean by that? Naruto asked. He was hating where this was going. Come now, gain jutsu is fox domain, he stated. A sword for claws, and you're already a trickster. Those are so I can get stronger, he stated, and they're happy to train me. How would you like even more help? The demon asked. Help in both of training and more. What are you getting at, fox? Naruto wasn't as dumb as he let on. He wouldn't be tricked so easily. Just a deal between a host and his burden. QB commented. It could be beneficial for the both of us. I'm listening, he stated. The deal is simple. I give you the means to take your skills to a whole new level. The fox offered. For a price. How would you do that? His answer was simple. The bloodline. Seeing that he had the boy's add-on. Tion, the fox continued, and give you a few needed modifications. What do you want? It was worth listening to. 3 things, the fox stated. The first, since you won't give me my freedom, I want access to your senses. The second, I want you to spread fear in my name, he roared before smiling cruelly. And finally, a little piece of your mind becoming mine. What? I could agree to the senses, but why would I spread fear in your name? He asked. It would give the villagers even more reason to hate me. It's not like they could hate you more than they do, the fox stated, and I doubt they leave and try to like you. Why do You want fear. It had been bugging him for a while. That goes back before I was even the QB. He spoke in a memory, days back when I was just an average, larger than normal but average fox. If you weren't born a demon, how did you become one? He interrupted. The fear from the very beginning. It was the ear that gave me my power. The bloody kitson they called me. My reign of terror was legendary. Dozens of villager would fall to my claws at a time until I was slain. It was then I became something worse. The stuff nightmares are made of. I became a demon since I was so feared. The fear brought me back as a demon, and the fun really began then. Why do you need me? He asked. Can't you keep escaping death because of your fourth hope? Kage the beast roared. After I was sealed, people thought I was dead and they lost fear. He continued. Being dead isn't a problem, but being forgotten now, that's a underscore. I can't come back if nobody fears me. I can't come back if nobody's afraid. That's why you need me, the blonde stated. Without fear you're nothing. Yes, I need you. That had to hurt. You've got the body, I've got the brain. Why do you mean some of my mind? Do you honestly believe you can be cruel enough? It seemed to be an honest question. Do you think you could get the amount of fear I need? The bloodline. What would it do? He asked, ignoring the question. The bloodline is called the Fox Glare. It has two abilities. The first you can learn and use any genjutsu you know. The second is trapping a person inside a genjutsu domain controlled by you just by eye contact. Explain the demon. Through it you can either hold or break. A long-lasting side effect. What is the drawback? He wasn't stupid. There was always a risk. You need to see the opponent or the genjutsu will run wild. QB stated. If you use genjutsu, anyone around will be affected the same, such as pain by fire or drowning, unless you're focused. The fox wasn't finished. Anyone better at genjutsu or smarter or have a stronger will can defeat you at your own game. Taking a moment to think. It also can't be turned off or hidden through genjutsu, so good luck hiding it. Anything else you can detect genjutsu but not break or copy it. The fox added. Those are your own skills and the modifications. Would I receive enhanced everything with slight fox features? You blood will be a great cure for all ailments. Taking another minute to think. I will also train you in if a few techniques so your body sensing skill will be taken to new levels. What's the catch to those increased levels of bloodlust and cruelty? Deal. DB wanted to chuckle but wasn't foolish. The fox knew that so much as smiling could ruin the deal. Pair off a tenth of the seal, the fox ordered, and prepare foe our pain. Doing so, Naruto experienced something he hadn't felt since his childhood. Pain. He felt pain coursing through every part of him. It seemed to be focused behind his eyes and in the center of his head. The fox's constant laughing wasn't helping. Bam, fox. He got out before the darkness claimed him. Real world jumping up. Naruto was sure he wasn't getting back to bed. Damn fox. Well, I have an hour until team meeting. Getting out of bed, Naruto noticed that he felt as light as a feather. Guess I'll be increasing my weights again. He also noticed that he was at least a foot higher off the ground than usual. The changes. Walking toward his mirror, he eyed his reflection. His one sun-kissed blonde hair now carried traces of red highlights. His teeth were now razor sharp like. His blue eyes were the same, but his pupil were now had slits. He couldn't help but give himself a few once-overs. I'll need some new dye. Tall me, he would be finished today. He tried dressing in his now too small clothes. When that didn't work, he decided to hinge into his regular self. Since mine is real, they'll never notice. Reassured, he dressed and left. Leaf Dragon Pain. Naruto greeted Taiki. The usually I wasn't expecting you until much later in the day. What are you doing here? Asked Naruto. Don't you have any employees to cover the night shift? Nope, I do everything, and using soldier pills I can keep going, he explained. To how many of those pills have you had? He asked. So I assume you're here for those clothes? He asked, ignoring the case. Tion. Yes, Naruto answered, worriedly smiling sheepishly. Diy grabbed one of his clothes. They were the standard black ambu pants, a new pair of black steel-toed combat boots, a crimson-red trench coat similar to Anos with black flames licking the bottom and end of sleeves. In the center of the coat was a kangi. The key said kitson, which stood for fox. The cloths even came with great features. Add chakra and they'll grow to any size, dry themselves, and even keep the wear warm. Great for extra chakra control. Aki only blinked and the cloths were on. The blonde Naruto liked the clothes so much he brought Severa L sets usually this would be out of his price range, but Dai worked him a deal if he purchased all of his ninja items from the Leaf Dragon, then everything was half off. Nudo, why do you have a hen on? Dai asked, losing all humor. Deciding the gig was up, he dropped the disguise. The cloths instantly grew with him just as they were created. Well, the semi-blonde asked nervously, how do I look? Can't have the only useful shop. Hate me? AI stared at the now red highlighted blonde in front of him. His gaze was even incalculative. It made Nudo a bit uneasy as he stood there. You need something for the eyes, he spoke to. Cover up their extra features. Have anything that can completely cut off my sight? He asked, relieved. I'm training and being a censor. Sure. Pulling a crimson cloth from somewhere, he handed it to Naruto. It's from the same material as your suit, created it just for you. Written on it was a kanji meaning G Mirage. As he tied the on cloth, he decided to explore until his sensei arrived. Maybe I'll go to an empty training ground. He continued around until he entered into a training ground. The area was littered with weapons and the posts were horribly beaten. He felt a powerful chakra signature and too weak. Ones, it is most youthful to spy on my team, came a voice from behind. Naruto acted on pure instinct. Turning, he threw a kick toward the source of the voice. It never connected because his leg was caught. The grip on his leg was like iron. That too is most youthful. The source of the voice was a kid wearing green spandex with orange leg warmers. He had an awful bowl cut, and good lord, are those his eyebrows? They looked like caterpillars. How did you get behind me? Naruto asked, with how come I couldn't sense your chakra? He felt out for it. I still can't feel it. He was even tempted to take the cloth his eyes to see if he was there. Even if it were civilian level, one should feel it. Lee, what is going on? Asked an older looking version of the now dubbed Lee. Have you brought another to the ways of youth? Not yet, Gu sensei, he yelled, but if I cannot convert as many as you to the ways of youth, then I shall do 500 laps around the village backwards on my hands. Lee, my student, the older version yelled, your flames of youth glow brighter every day. Thy sense Blee. I sensei. Nudo didn't know what he was seeing. He didn't want to know. The two local likes were starting to hug with his legs till in the middle as they did. A horrible sunset began to form behind them. Why can't I dispel that thing? He didn't know how, but he had to get free. He saw only one option, drawing a kunai. He prepared to saw through his own leg. Lee, Gu sensei, came a feminine cry. You're about to make another person sever their limbs for freedom. They finally released his leg. Turning to his savior, he began to thank her. He never got the chance as he was stopped by a cold, arrogant voice. Who are you? He asked. The Ud Yamaki. And you? I am Ni Hyuga. He gives off the same vibes as the this is my teammate 1010. Thank you 101 foe. Are saving me, he spoke, but they seem to be finishing, so I need to run. Wait, she called. This is a private area. What were you doing here? I just wanted a spot to train, he answered. Did someone say train? He noticed the two by SE motioning for him to say no. Yes, then let us train. The look like shouted as one eye shall make you into a youthful shinobi and continue in my conquest for world youth. What have I gotten myself into? The blonde asked himself. Youth, my friend, spoke Lee quietly. Youth training for Nudo was hell. He wasn't able to keep up with Lee's speed, but he matched him in stamina. The others were very surprised to see it happen, especially when they found he wore weights. Then 10 was able to help Nudo train with his kanjutsu. She kept an array of weapons, so he was always kept on guard. He bonded pretty well with all but the Hyuga. Naruto couldn't stand his arrogance. Putting on a hinge in his blindfold, he headed toward his team meeting. They were already in progress, most likely never noticing his absence when he made himself known. Well, he wished he had Nudo Baka. Where have you been? How a pink monkey? You're late. Naruto just ignored her. He was too tired. Practice with guy was tough. What beezed me to schedule more with him. Naruto, where have you been? Asked Kakashi. And why do you have a blindfold around your eyes? It's for training, the blonde answered. Not a complete lie. What kind of training? Asked the AA. If it's useful, I should be the one learning it, not you. Deciding he wasn't going to deal with he too RNED to his teacher. I can believe he reads that stuff in front of us. We're minors. What are we learning today? The blonde asked. His answer was predictable. Since you missed another mission, we decided to do some teamwork. Hey, where are you going? The train, the blonde stated, but before that I feel the need For my oldest friend Ramen and lots of it Aku Ramen hey old man Tui Naruto called Akin Naruto needs his ramen 15 bowls later and he felt better. There was one thing that was making a difficulty enjoy the food to its fullest actually it was three things three people the gnome rocks aren't square. He stated moving toward his next bowl of ramen so you saw through our disguise the rock spoke I expect nothing less from my rival at the end of the sentence the rock went up in smoke there was a lot of coughing and complaining from the one inside Uden Keno shouted you use too much powder hey UW. Anted a big entrance you'd encountered Naruto, who are these kids asked a mom seeing an opportunity for their entrance they began posing I'm Kohu future HOK I'm Uden I like math I'm OGI the cutest girl in my class and together taking another pose they spoke as one we are the core they wait. Ed for some type of response and they got it was clapping from him Naruto had already turned back to his ramen that's so cute isn't it Nudo she asked not after seeing it every time I see them he stated boss can you teach us something please asked Koer please sorry but I have my own training he s. Taught I see moi bring out the big guns Kohu ordered on command Mogi was in front of Naruto giving him the puppy eyes he tried to resist but they pulled him to look they commanded him to obey I'm wearing a blindfold how am I affected fine I'm sure those puppy eyes are some kind of jutsu I guess I'll teach them what I learned what will we learn they asked is one a jutsu a secret skill how to dodge he stated what Uden asked draw ani he leaked out killer intent he let a bloodthirsty aura fill the area it was a small amount but to fresh academy students it was down and level dodge the chase had be gun after running the kids back to class much to their annoyance he headed for his land I think'll surprise them with a page from Kohu a flashy entrance as he arrived he decided to use his new abilities dropping the jutsu he led his real appearance out the Kunoi sat in patience minus Anko as they waited for Nudo to appear they had all appeared today for various reasons we won't go into it didn't usually take this long since he was punctual out of nowhere a reddish blonde-headed guy appeared in the forest he stood there as the Kunoi took guard this is a private area stated Hana I know he state. D please leave ordered Kurai no the Kunoi were now ready to fight they each took a position around the intruder waiting for him to act what do you want asked Anko to meet some of the most powerful and beautiful Kunoi of Koha he answered from there it's anyone's bed who would they be asked Yuga both. Upset at the compliment don't tell me Hyun's a pervert I'm looking at them he spoke Ino took the first opportunity to act drawing a kunai she cut his cheek allowing a bit of blood to flow compliments will get you everywhere she stated taking a lick at his blood wait a sec Gaki I shouldn't be surprised. D you've memorized my blood Naro stated after the amount you've drained from me what's with the new look they asked and were you flirting I'd like to answer all questions stated Nudo say over dinner Naruto are you asking us on a date asked Kerr and I as in all four of us maybe realization fell into P. Lace he was Naruto Yamaki pariah of the village why would they even consider dating him sorry he spoke it was a foolish idea Naruto you aren't a fool spoke Yuga yes I'm a no name Janine he said pointing to himself and you are four of the elite Kunoi of the village pointing to said Kunoi Nudo the top it all off I asked all four of you out ranted that was a perverted thing to do I don't want to be a pervert why would you want to date us asked Hannah you all have been nice to me he started you're all amazing women he continued you're each skilled and proud but not the slightest bit arrogant he thought for a moment and my time with you all has been the happiest of my life they could see that he was really upset about this he seemed to want a genuine relationship with them not just a mindless pervert they then shared a look it was one of those looks women get when they're somehow having a conversation you men know the one they nodded their heads as if reaching an agreement Naruto you aren't a fool Hana stated yes I am he countered a demonically enhanced fool Naruto Yugao snap you are not a fool do you know why no because my mother told me never to kiss a fool she shouted grabbing nut. Oh by the back of his head she pulled him forward their lips locked and Nudo felt absolute bliss the world seemed to pause as he enjoyed the kiss all too soon it came to an end we each expect a reinforced clone to pick us up tomorrow by 8 to show us a wonderful night stated Kerr and I remember GY. We each have different tastes on what we believe is a perfect date. Wore nano breast. Casually he spoke. Until then my Hymus gaining a blush from said Hymes. Nudo was nervous. He was going on the first date of his life and it was with 4 women. Most men in his position would be boasting. He however wasn't. Most men he stayed silent. He had taken the day off of training from his team in the Kurenai. There were a lot of things for him to do for his date, not that he neglected his training. He sent multiple clones out to practice some Sugain jutsu with a scrolls cur and I left some in the katas Yuga had shish. Owed him find something for each Kurenai to enjoy, find places where he wasn't hated, find out how to act on a date, get advice on what to do for the date. I need serious help advice. Who can I go to? Should I ask the Oraku family? No. How about the old man Hokage? No, he's a pervert. I've seen those books there. Ease always. Aka sensei. 10 minutes later and he was in front of his old academy. It seemed his teacher was giving a lecture. Oh how I hated those deciding to spare the kids the pain he went through. He entered Puka's. Say I need your advice. He called Nudo. He asked shocked. I'd love to help you but I'm a bit busy with class. He looked at the class of children. They were either sleeping from the lecture of talking. Deciding to be honest to his teacher he said, Sensei, you've lost them, just tell me what you need. He said annoyed, why does nobody like my lectures? Bragging his former teacher outside. He said I need dating advice. Now Ruka had to admit that he was shocked. It didn't mean he would show it. He was after all both a ninja and a teacher. What do you need to know? He asked, not even taking a minute to think. Nudo simply said everything. Flowers. The Yanaka flower shop. Alo greeted Ino. Welcome to the Yam. Naruto, what are you doing here? Baka. He did his best to ignore the insult. I'm here to buy flowers for my D. Stated I'd like to make a good first impression. Who would go on a date with you? She asked. I bet you just annoyed Sakura until she said yes. I am not going on a date with Sakura. He stated he really didn't want to deal with a fangirl. I just want to buy some flowers and leave. Fine, she sneered. What do you want? I want 4 bouquets each mixed with red and black, pink, orange and white. One for Anko, Kurai, Hana and Yuga. Great, now I have to tell you what they mean. She sighed annoyed. You probably just chose them for looks anyway. I know what they mean. Red love, black the beginning of new things when not death, pink elegance and refinement, orange warm vibrant tones, white humility and innocence. Ino was in shock. Not only had Nudo of all people picked out flowers but he actually knew what they ain't. How does someone like you know what they mean? She asked. Can I have my flowers? He asked, ignoring the question. Why would you need 4? She asked. Are you cheating on somebody? You or aren't you? She accused. Probably some poor civilians who you lied to and said you did all the stuff S-kun did. How is S-kun? Has he mentioned me enough here? I'm not cheating on anybody. He stated. I just want to buy my flowers for my dates. If you want to talk about the AA then find her. Uno Baka. She shouted. You should treat me with respect. I'm Aris to the Amanaka clan and I don't have to sell you anything. She stated. Bu T wasn't finished and you are just a nobody. What is going on here? Asked a new voice. Ino and Nudo looked toward the source of the voice. It was Anoi Yanaka, Ino's father. He had been watching from the beginning. Your daughter refuses to sell to me, stated Nudo. He knew Anoi had been watching and she constantly insults me but he's a nobody, she stated, trying to defend himself. And what are we Amakas without the Nara and Akamichi clan? He asked. I apologize for my daughter. The flowers are free. Not wanting to wait a second longer, Naruto grabbed his flowers and left. He had 4 different dates to prepare for. Remember everything Iruka sensei told you and you'll do fine. Who does that? Baka think he is Se Dino getting me in trouble with daddy. I'm going to make him pay. Okay Nudo, you can do this, he repeatedly chanted in his head. I just have to show them a good time. Stealing his resolve he knocked on the door. And Anko ho he bime he greeted, getting a blush from Anko. I brought flowers. Hello Foxy, __, greeted Anko as she took the flowers. Well come in and we can get down to business. Down to business? He asked. What do you mean? Well what do you think men and women do? She asked with a perverted leer. Theo's FACE put a tomato to shame. Mano-chan, I don't think I'm old enough for that. There is a motto many shobi lived by. She spoken. Old enough to kill, then you're old enough to drink and have sex. We're not well enough into a relationship for that. He tried. Ando saw that he honestly wasn't in this for the sex. He Wants to just have a relationship. I guess I'll throw him a bone. She spoke, but if we going anywhere I want you to drop the henge. He did so happily it made him feel accepted. What will we be doing? She was honestly curious. There's a place my former sensei recommended. He answered, it's supposed to be non biased for us as well, he said, referring to her problem as well as his. Do they have dango? If they didn't there would be trouble. And red bean soup, he added. Well, what are we waiting for? She grabbed him and literally started dragging him on. Which way is it? Grabbing her arm he shunted them to the location he was given. When they arrived it looked like a bar mixed with a diner. It seemed to be a decent place on the outside, however there were very few people around. Fire in the hole, came a shout from inside. No sooner had that been said a man ran out through the entrance, but that he never finished. The whole building started to light up before coming down in a fiery explosion. Hey, what are you doing here? Asked another voice. This area is closed for demolition. Looking around, Naruto became aware of the signs. Baki teased Anko, what do you have planned? He took a minute to think but came up empty-handed. I've got nothing, he admitted. I do, spoke Anko giddily, a little too giddy for Naruto. Grabbing her date, she took him a few blocks from their location. When they arrived they were surrounded by unfriendly looking people. They didn't seem to pay much attention to them, but the few that did just stead and look away. Ino, he asked, where are we? This is a place I go to celebrate after a mission, she spoke as they walked inside a shady looking pub Naruto knew he was in for a wild night. Anko was greeted by several people as they made their way toward the bar. They took a seat and waited for the bartender to notice them. Hey Anko, the bartender greeted. What can I get you? Do of the usual, she ordered, but make his a small. She pointed toward Naruto. He was tempted to say he would take the same as her until he saw what it was. It was a drink that much was obvious. BCO quickly snatched hers and started downing it. A second later it was half gone. Taking a pause she let out the large belch. Theo eyed his. It looked to be mostly foam. Taking a single but large sip he tasted it. It didn't stay long before he swallowed it all. It doesn't taste half bad. He quickly downed the rest. We got ourselves a natural, laughed the bartender as he handed out a refill. 5 minutes later they were having a drinking contest. Anko was impressed Naruto was able to hold his liquor. I should take him out more. Another 10 minutes later they lost count. Naruto wasn't drunk, but the same couldn't be said for Anko. Hey Hikin, see Anko, how about we go back to my place and become much closer? Sorry Anko, but you're drunk, he said. I'm going to have to take you home. Oh, but I want my Foxy, __. She wed truthfully. She wasn't completely drunk, she just wanted to know what he would do. Please, when you're sober here Eon. Unfortunately for Naruto, Anko Kn. A sobering jutsu. After fumbling through a series of hand signs she was back to normal. There, I'm sober, she stated. Lead and go. Wait, you tricked me, he accused, gaining a laugh from Anko and the bartender. Hey, if you don't want her we'll happily take her off your hands, came a new gruff voice. Turning to source, Naruto and Anko were greeted by an awful sight. There were 3 men all dressed like thugs. They had made a small circle around Naruto and Anko. They constantly gave Anko lusty looks and Naruto glares. Sorry pal, but she's my date for the evening, he spoke coldly. I hope you 3 understand. I hope you understand, brat. The apparent leader sneered. That we don't care if she was with a HOK. Naruto was about to tell them to leave when he saw Anko smile. She has that look on her face, it usually ends up with pain. He Naruto, do you know what would make this evening perfect? She asked as her smile grew. No new to notice the bartender lower himself out of sight. What would taking a shark kunai? Her smile grew as fast as a ninja. She drove the kunai deep into the shoulder of a stranger. She then tossed a blooded weapon into the hands of the leader of the trio. A stranger stood and looked toward the couple, then the trio. He spotted the weapon and stood to full height. This guy has to be 7 feet tall. Letting out a war cry he dived toward the trio. Our fight. 20 minutes later Anko and Naruto were the only ones standing. Even the bartender had jumped in at some point. Anko was happy, exhausted but happy. She got to drink, fight and even eat some poor sap's food for free. He shouldn't have gotten knocked out so soon, she stated. Naruto wanted to remind her that she was the one that knocked him out but decided against it. The worst part was she sodomized several innocent people with her snakes. Let me get you home, beanie. Hey, Stated Naruto. They reached her apartment a minute later through Shunshin. They stood there for a full minute. They stared at each other, or in Nito's case felt her chakra. Deciding not to wait any longer, Anko made the first move. Leaning forward, she gave him a chase kiss. It felt wonderful to Naruto. No matter how short it was, I had a wonderful evening. Nudo, __. She stated, I hope we can do this again soon. She hinted, so do I, he admitted as she opened her door. He turned to leave but was stopped by a large snake coiled around him. Come in, Nudo, she ordered while licking a kunai in hand. How can I say no? He nervously laughed. Hana. At Hana's home, he was greeted by Hana's mother. Hello, you must be the pups. Dated Naruto spoke Hana's mother. Hana will be down soon. Hello, MSUM-san, he greeted. No need for formalities, Naruto, __, spoke Hana descending the stairs. My mother hates them as much as you. Hello, in I am, he greeted, gaining a blush, handing her the flowers. I have these for you. Do you know what they mean? Pup-sum asked, looking at the colors. Gaining a nod from Nudo. Have a good time, Pup-soon, before taking a teasing tone. Have her back before 10 and don't let me know if you're in the house. Mother Tum-wa Essent finished. Don't forget I want grand. Pups grabbing Naruto by the hand, she dragged him out. Once they arrived at the destination, Nudo dropped his disguise. They were in an open field on top of the HOK monument, and the field with was a blanket and picnic basket. Inside, Hana could smell a lot of delicacy house items. It was making her appetite grow. Letty started Hana outside with a beautiful view. Delicious food. You did your homework on Inazuka women. Newton, I tried my best, he said. Sukun, he offered. They were Hana's favorite. She was even more impressed when she found he had made them himself. They sat and ate in silence. It was a comfortable silence, but still silent. Hana decided to break it. Nudo-kunin, she called, gaining his attention. Where are we? The Hokage monument. He too was glad the silence was broken. This was my first comfort spot, he stated. I still come here to think, why did we come here instead of your field? Look up, he answered. They sit in the vastness that we know nothing about. They hide from us in the day while staying in plain sight. She saw what he meant. The stars, they're beautiful, she whispered. Yeah, you are, he whispered, thinking she hadn't heard. She did. Naruto, can I touch your whiskers? Shish. Cautiously asked Nudo, visibly tensed at the request. He didn't let many people touch his whiskers, and the ones he did were rarely to Naruto. That was a very intimate thing. As he thought the request over and over in silence, Heinous took that as a no. Sorry, I asked, she apologized, realizing he had been lent along. He apologized. No, you can touch them, she assured her. It's just they are a very sensitive part of me. Really? She knew it was like someone touching the family tattoo on her cheeks. Reaching slowly, she robbed him. What happened? Completely shocked her. He purred. Oh my gosh, she mentally squealed. That is so cute. She couldn't contain herself. She playfully tackled him to the ground, knocking his blindfold off. It seemed like she was pinning him, but was in fact hugging him. To her even greater surprise, he flipped her over and pinned her. When she looked him the eyes, she saw that they were innocent and playful, like a young pup or young kid. Sorry, Nudo, but I like being topped. They repeated the process over several times. It wasn't long before they were running and chasing each other on all fours. They looked like a fox and a dog playing. It felt great for Hana. She felt like a child again, not a soldier. She wished it could last forever, but all great things must come to an end. I hope you enjoyed yourself in Newheim, spoke Nudo as they approached her home. I did, Naruto see, and she said I felt like a pup again, she admitted, blushing. She then stared at Nudo. How would you like to come in? It was Nutke turned to blush. He quickly recomposed himself. He leaned in to kiss her and turned to leave. He didn't get far. In front of him were the triplets, growling Fei-Feli at him. They seemed to have surrounded him. The center triplet stepped forward and pointed his paw toward Hana. I think I'll take you up on that offer, Hana-chan, he stated, but could you call off the triplets? Hello, Yuzu, he greeted as he handed her the flowers. Hello, Naruto, __. She returned. They are beautiful. So where are we going? Well, I know how you're tired after you and rarely relax, he spoke, and she admitted it was all true. So I've planned Ned for a smooth and calm evening for you. Nudo held to his word. He had taken her to see the latest Princess Gale movie. It was a few days after airing, so it was relatively empty. They watched in peace. Yugao was impressed when Nudo made no attempts to feel her up. He simply let her watch in peace once E-movie had finished. They had taken a stroll through an abandoned park. I've got to admit Naruto see she started this simple evening has been amazing. Deciding to take a break they sat on a bench. He noticed that Yuga would constantly rub her shoulders. Are you okay? He asked. Buga smiled at his concern. Yes, just a little stiff. I could give you a shoulder rub, he offered, if you don't mind. If you do, I totally understand. She thought the offer over in her head. He seems to want to help. He hasn't made any perverted attempts. I'll trust him. Sure, she answered, turning so that she wasn't facing him. They began. He started by giving gentle rubs and needs. These earn groans of pleasure from Yuga. With these encouragements he added a bit of pressure and the groans grew louder. Naruto, would you mind adding a little chakra? She requested. I don't mind, but my chakra isn't good, he offered. My chakra destroys while my blood heals. Though she had forgotten about the fox I could use that, he offered. Their blood, yes, but he trailed off. But what, you'll need to take off your shirt. He flinched and brought his hands up for defense. Not the face. Relax, I'm not going to hit you, Naruto, she assured him. I've already taken my hurt off. When did you? He asks. Why, you're wearing a blindfold, she explained. As long as it stays on, then I know you aren't a pervert. Don't worry, he promised, it'll stay on. Pulling out a kunai, he made a small but deep cut on each hand. He let the blood fill his hand before the wound healed. They close Faw's tear now began to rub around where she felt the tenseness. The groans increased further as the blood healed the pain. Thun called you a yes, he asked. Instead of answering, she simply turned toward him. Because of the blindfold he wasn't aware of the expression on her face. Leaning forward, she gave him a deep kiss. It was a complete surprise to Naruto, but he loved it. Before he knew it, she had knocked him to the ground, removed his blindfold and some of their clothes. Yuan, he gasped, you're moving a bit too fast. Shush shush shush, she shushed him, but she silenced him by drawing a kunai and slamming down beside his head. She drew a second one. You were saying? She asked. Nothing, Kurai. Hello, Bime, he greeted, handing the flowers over. El Nun, she greeted with a smile. What have you planned? I was thinking a nice dinner, he stated. There is a place that makes great seafood. Taking his arm, they shined away. They appeared in front of a small casual restaurant. Hello, I'd like a table for two, requested Naruto. Table for one coming right up, the greeter spoke with a sneer. If you would please follow me, miss. I think you misheard him, spoke Kurenai. He said a table for two. She spoke with emphasis. I'm sorry, miss, but we don't serve. He seemed to think of a right word that he pointed as if accusing it would be bad for business. I see, spoke Naruto. Time to gather my first bit of fear. Removing his blindfold, he allowed his new eyes to be seen. Seeing the fear in the greater, he decided to take it up a bit. He allowed his hinge to unravel slowly. For added effect, he gave his best furl smile. It would have made Anko proud. Now about that table, he stated coldly. Able for two coming up. They were quickly seated and abandoned by the greeter. The waiter, after seeing the look, took their orders and disappeared as he attempted to reapply disguise but was stopped. I want to reel you, she stated. It was not request. What do we have here? Came a new voice. Turning to the source, they saw Asuma Kobe, son of hers in Kobe. Hello, Asuma Kuzan, she quickly corrected Naruto. This is my friend Asuma, she said, getting a raised eyebrow from Asuma. Nice tea. Oh, meet you, Naruto, he greeted, ignoring Nutke appearance. You don't mind if I join you, do you? No, great, he said, pulling up a chair before either could answer. It's not as if this is a date, is it? Actually it is, corrected Kurai. What? Asuma was in total shock, but too later. Suma stated, K and I fiercely we'd Lee K to enjoy our date. She really hoped he caught the hint. He didn't. How did you two meet? He asked. I'm trying to teach him a bit on gain jutsu, she answered. Jutsu, ha, he thought on it. Wouldn't you prefer ninjutsu or even to jutsu? It seemed reasonable with all the chakra and stamina Naruto was set to Aes. It was well known from his prank spree. Actually, I've seen how useful game jutsu is firsthand, stated Naruto. For T-jutsu, a blade can do a lot more than a punch. I understand the blade part, one use them myself, a great Asuma, but you usually can't use gain jutsu in combat without support time or focus ray. Sun Tsuma, but gain jutsu can usually be easily broken in multiple ways. Yes, but you also can't use an injutsu because of allies, surroundings and even bystanders, countered Naruto. Also, if the gain jutsu is strong enough or the wielder is skilled enough, then those things are unimportant. True, but gone I was upset that Asuma was ridiculing Genjutsu, her specialty. She was happy that Nudo was defending the art as she watched the arguments continue. Their food arrived, as did Asuma's. When did he order? Asuma then began to light a cigarette. This seemed to irritate Kurana, which in turn irritated Nudo. If Asuma noticed their expressions, he happily ignored it. Could you please not like that here? Asked Naruto. Asuma took a light look around before speaking. Don't worry, he said, there are no smoking signs. This irritated both Kurai and Nudo further. Okay, how about this? Tried Naruto. Let's make a deal. At kind the if I can prove right here right now that Jijutsu is just as useful as ninjutsu, he thought, then you pay for our dinner. He agreed, and if not, you pay for my steak and rice. Maggot stated Nudo. Fear, here I come. What? Asked Asuma, confused. He didn't like Naruto's smile. Is there something scare Ming in my mouth? You're eating maggots. Asuma looked down at his food. There on his plate were maggots squirming on his food. The food itself looked rancid and had a mixture of various trashes. Realizing what the squirming in his mouth was, he began to vomit. He wasn't able to continue emptying his stomach. It was as if his very mouth had been sealed shut. It didn't stop the puke from filling up. Looking toward Naruto, he saw a deformed face. It seemed to be Imelda Fox and a man. The shock was too much for him. Jumping from his seat, he saw that the seat was empty. All of the seats were empty. He did hear a chuckling and felt a piercing sensation in his back. Turning, he saw that it was Nudo. He was holding a kunai that he had lodged deep into Asuma. He continued to twist the blade, drawing out the agony and the jonin. Nudo then raised his hand and made to punch Asuma in the face, attempting to block. Asuma raised his arms. He never felt the blow come. Opening his eyes, he saw that he was still sitting at the table. Nudo was giving an attempted and failed innocent look. Kurenai only sat back with a smug expression on her face. What was that about Genjutsu, Asuma? She asked. Also, I'll have you know changed our orders. She chuckled. It wasn't cheap. How did he do that? He asked. I never even saw him weave any hand signs. He looked at them before her words sunk. Ink. When did you two order and eat? I was out for only a few seconds. There weren't any hand signs, Naruto admitted, and with Genjutsu time Biko. Me's irrelevant. That kind of Genjutsu takes years of experience. Asuma shouted. We just a great teacher, countered Naruto. And I blushed at the compliment. I had a student that was as very eager to learn. Their eyes met and they shared a blush. And I felt like a girl on her first date. Naruto was a boy on his first date. The deal is a deal, Asuma admitted before reaching around his pockets. Oh dear, it seems I've forgotten my wallet, he spoke, trying to be sly. Well, that's too bad for you, spoke Nudo with a smile, because we've already left. But that both Kurenai and Naruto faded out of reality. Sir, I was told to give you the bill for your companions, spoke the waiter. Looking at the bill, Asuma felt his heart stop. She wasn't kidding when she said it wasn't cheap. He looked at his cigarette. If I smoke my whole pack now, will it kill me and keep me from paying? There is only one way to find out. We're in some part. Mark, Kurenai and Nudo were sharing a laughing fit. When they regained control of themselves, they began walking toward her apartment. Oh Naruto, that was truly hilarious, she spoke. Where did you learn to do that? I used what you tried to teach me in those scrolls, he explained. I then added a little change. Well, it was amazing, she stated. You taught him not to underestimate Genjutsu, and I'm sorry, Hiru. In our evening, I'm sorry that he ruined our date, stated Naruto in a sadder tone. It's okay, she assured honestly, but I'd feel much better if I could make it up to you, he street. I know, look that way. He gestured toward the sky. Looking in the direction, she saw something that truly amazed her. The sun said. She watched as the village was illuminated by the setting fireball. It was as if the sun was trapped in a state of orange and crimson perfection. He did this for me, she ought to herself in amazement. The raw beauty was overwhelming her, and I couldn't stop the single tear that escaped from her eye, and like that it was gone. Sorry, I couldn't hold it any longer, panted Nudo. I need more practice. He then saw her tear-stricken face. Oh no, Chan, what's wrong? She looked at I am and smiled. He really cared. She thought nothing is wrong. Nudo, she assured him. I didn't mean to make you cry. He was cut off by a finger to the lip. Her and I then leaned in and gave him a chaste kiss. She then deepened it as their tongues fought for supremacy, and like the game jutsu, it came To an end all too quickly Barrow__. She asked would you like to come in for some coffee now Nudo wasn't the smartest but even he knew what she meant there would be no coffee if he entered I'm not a coffee purr he stopped at the scene in front of him and I was staring blankly at him as if dead he. Our hair seemed to be moving on its own the shadows seemed to crawl around her this all made her crimson eyes all the more vivid Naruto__. She stated coldly I'm sure you will love some of my coffee sounds Grady spoke next day Anko morning Naruto__. Greeted Anko as she watched Naruto awalk. Only seconds after her how are you this morning I'm fine he be and you he asked but she trailed off but what Nudo asked there is something I want to try she explained and so far no man has wanted to even give it a try well what is it he asked I'll prove I'm not like other men he stated though. You have foxy__. She admitted again and again she snickered but what I want to try is a jutsu for what we've been doing sure he was open for more of last night great she squealed enjoy trouser snake jutsu I should not have to explain this Theo proceeded to stare at Anko he then made a dash for the front door unfortunately it was blocked by a mass of snakes the front was blocked and behind was Anko only one option left he jumped out the window I'll run one of Anko's snakes spoke I guess I'll go see how the other dates went Pana I'll be getting those grandpups in no time though. Soon before noticing the silence they finally stopped finally cried several member of the family as the people laid themselves down to sleep they felt bliss time for some well-deserved rest before work ring the alarm clocks went off it was time to begin another day of work several of family members began to cry all they wanted was to get some sleep as Naruto and Hana stepped out of Hana's room they were greeted by several faces Suum who was looking at Naruto and Hana in great interest Tiba who eyed them both in disbelief several Inuzuka men in envy several Inuzuka women in JEA. Lousy Tum spoke first I want to name some of the grand pups shouted Kiba what are you doing here he looked at Hana and with my sister hey don't blame me spoke Naruto blame the triplets they forced me to stay the triplets themselves were regretting their actions they like all present didn't get a NY sleep Sakimaru ordered Kiba okay I can't fight him because he's Hana's brother what can I do Nudo did what any man would do when faced with his predicament he ran like the devil was after him at back here Uzumaki roared Kiba you'll pay for defiling my sister and keeping the clan up all night I'll go meet the girls thought Hana Yua when Naruto awoke he noticed that he was in an empty bed when did we leave the park there was however a note and a scroll the Naruto__. A van meeting then meeting with the girls feel free to raid fridge then practice Kadis and scroll Yua PS from Anyo. No Doj Garai awoke to an empty bed she looked around the room and saw that his cloths were gone as well she felt a great pain in her heart no he's just like the rest the tears of the betrayal she felt just fell Gi-chan you awake asked Nudo from nowhere I made breakfast he noticed her teary face is everything okay yes Naruto__. She answered quickly but I can't eat I have to meet the girls I can't believe I doubted him girls they headed to their usual meeting spot when they arrived they noticed that each of them had a certain glow it was one they themselves were familiar with. And were experiencing they each pointed a finger at another and shouted you slept with Naruto__. They accused of each other they eyed each other before breaking those hands spoke Yuga that body spoke Kurai that size spoke Anko that stamina spoke Hana that tongue they spoke as one they then sat round each other as they each recounted their dates with Naruto each kanoi began going into their more graphic night activities which happened to go early into the morning they were interrupted by a cough 3 to be exact hello girl spoke hey ding Yuga we were just wondering why you were sleeping Nudo continued Aruka toward Anko when you are supposed to be Asuma to Kurai baiting as they finished as one we can explain they said so this part ends here alright that's it for today's video guys let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like share and subscribe I will meet you in another video bye bye.